All right, and Coach, and now we welcome in Manny Diaz from the men's tennis team at Georgia. What a great show we have with Manny and Jeff and their legacies at UGA. And Coach, I know going back to when you were the head football coach, these relationships were very meaningful to you and then beyond.
Sure was. I mean, when I first met Manny and Coach McGill told him I used to play tennis, he said, "What?" You know. But I've always been behind the tennis team, you know that, and I'm behind all the sports. But Coach Diaz has done a tremendous job over the years. Having to replace Coach McGill is one thing, but replace him like he has been unreal. And Coach, let's talk a little bit about this year in general. The transition from not being able to play at the end of last year and then not being sure about it this year. How did you handle it? What was the psyche with your players?
It was obviously it was unique and it was different and it was quite a challenge, right? We had players, to be honest with you, all around the world. We have some kids in South Africa, some kids in Sweden. They had to leave town and complete school, off site. It brought a lot of uncertainty, to say the least. And we fought so hard and we kind of felt it coming, and we were hoping and keeping our fingers crossed, that we could finish last year. But, this thing really just, it turned ugly and, it was for the best. And, you have to try to put things in perspective for these kids, right? When tragedy strikes and when, all this gets turned upside down because, their focus was on our team and how we were playing. We were hot. We had beaten the second ranked team in the country when this happened and everything kind of went south. But I think by the time they left, we kind of had put things in perspective for them. And while the summer was really different for all of us in the sense that we didn't have any tournaments, people were scattered all over the world. We kept them together with some Zoom calls, and we were lucky to get back together this fall, and and they were very happy, obviously, to come back together and start working together.
Yeah, and the one thing that I thought was really unique was, and you and I talked about it a couple of times in your office. You were saying we don't really know if we're going to get to play any this fall, and then all of a sudden, the SEC had these little tournaments on the weekends where you travel you get 3 or 4 teams in there. At least you got to play in the fall, and
Right.
and then all of a sudden we got it going, and then we had an outbreak and had some players injured and had some COVID situations. So our team kind of got a little bit up and down, and then all of a sudden one with their backs to the wall, won 8 straight to finish third in the league. So tell us about that journey.
It showed tremendous resilience and we have a very, very close team. We have a group of great kids, no troublemakers, just, self-motivated. This group last year, we have the same identical team other than we had an addition of a graduate transfer from Vanderbilt, Billy Rowe, is a very young team. 3 redshirt sophomores in the lineup. We just don't have any seniors other than my son, who was a redshirt senior, and he had shoulder surgery, so he's not in the lineup. And so we're very young, but yeah, we got dealt some tough hands early on. We had 2 guys out with COVID, one guy out with COVID, and the other one was a close contact. So we lost them for a couple of weeks, and then we had 2 other kids with back injuries, and we got behind the 8 ball a little bit, But these kids, remained tough and determined, and we went on a good run there towards the end of the year, where we won 8 straight, I think it was, and we went up to number 9 in the country, which is a good feat. Granted, we were 1-4 after the first couple of weekends in the conference, so come a long way, and we still can beat anybody in the country, we feel like. But we've had some close losses that have been tough. And so this team has shown some grit and resilience that I'm proud of.
Manny, I had not considered just all the different places that your players come from, and then how COVID and the travel restrictions and the uncertainty, the toll that takes on a team. Was there a point that you almost had to put tennis aside a little bit and just talk to your players just as humans and make sure they were okay?
Absolutely. We had mental health coach with us one call. They were affected by the fact that they have never been parked, right? The way we had to park. Tennis just goes on constantly. If anything is wrong with, tennis around the world, is that we don't have seasons. Tennis is go all the time. And so, not sure that that's good or bad or whatever, but, you go from the clay court season to the grass court season to the indoor seat to the summer circuit in the US to the, indoor season in the fall and in the winter. And it's just, it's always go, right? And so for tennis players, they didn't know how to handle much a period of off season or inactivity. And so that was a big concern. And we were able to kind of talk through it and, get these guys, some were able to train more than others. Some had to, just go run in the street. There were no courts available anywhere open. So, it was quite an adjustment for most of our team.
We'll talk about our team and, just real quick synopsis of 1 through 6 here. You mentioned Billy Rowe, but, for our fans, we got 6 singles and then
Right.
3 doubles. But going into the NCAAs, we got a good chance of hosting a tournament here, 2 days here. But hopefully we can get some of the fans out because there's nothing like the Georgia tennis match.
Yeah.
So who's our top 6, and just get a little bit about each one.
Well, we have, Trent Bride has been playing at our number 1 singles position. And he's a sophomore, redshirt sophomore from Atlanta. We have had Tyler Zink, who's a redshirt freshman playing 2 lately, and he's done extremely well. Philip Henning is at number 3, and he's again a redshirt sophomore. And so is Blake Kreuter, who plays a number 4 for us, also a redshirt sophomore. And Billy Rowe has been playing number 5, and he's our graduate transfer. And then at 6, we've got Baptiste Anselmo or Eric Gravelius, 2 kids, one from France and one from Sweden. And they're both redshirt freshmen. So we've got, as you see, a team that's majority freshman and sophomore. And so, these guys have shown tremendous maturity beyond their years. But, this year, because of COVID, we've had to play against the majority of teams with, 2 or 3 redshirt seniors, right? And so, they've been a much more experienced team than us, you could say. But our team has handled it tremendous. I think this is one of the most talented teams we've had in recent memory, and we'll get their due sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean, they've been so close in the big matches like against Tennessee and Wake Forest. I mean, we're right there. But really talking a little bit about the legacy of following Coach McGill. Just tell our fans how long you've been the coach here and how many national championships have you won with your players. Obviously, the players played for you, but how many you got now, Coach?
Well, this is my 39th year at the University of Georgia as a coach. This is I was 6 years under Coach McGill as assistant tennis coach and associate head tennis coach. And I took over in the fall of '88. So '89 was my first year as a head coach. I believe this is my 28th year as a head coach. We've had quite a few years. Obviously, I played for Coach McGill for 4 years before that. And, it's been a great honor to try to keep our program, where it belongs, which is amongst the top teams in the country. We've been able to do that with
Don't be bashful now, Coach. Tell us how many you won now.
I honestly don't remember how many SEC championships we won, but we've won 4 NCAA team titles and 2 national indoor championships. So 6 national championships.
That's awesome. And hadn't lost to Tech either, right? But maybe that's what I like.
Yeah, I think we're like 30-1. Unfortunately, that number 1 sticks in my craw a little bit.
You're supposed to lie about that, Coach. Hey, ending up here, just a story about Coach McGill. I want you to tell our fans about, well, first of all, tell us about what's going to happen on the playoffs here, like a good chance for us to be one of the 64 and be at home. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that. And then I want you to tell us about when you were playing in a tournament and Coach McGill wanted you to come out of the hospital to play. I want to hear that.
You've heard that one before.
Right.
Yeah, so on May the 3rd is our selection show, and at 6:30 p.m. We'll know where we go or if we host, right? So first and second rounds, round of 64 and round of 32, we're hoping to hold Athens as site for both men and women. Fingers crossed. You never know. With COVID now, they're trying to do they don't go strictly by the rankings. So if on a normal year, we wouldn't really be having a question mark. We'd be hosting, right? Because right now we're number 10th in the nation. And so the top 16 teams host. But they're trying to keep people from, taking flights and as much as possible. And so they're doing a little bit more regional type of hosts. And so they've already selected 20 hosts. And on May the 3rd, I guess 4 of those hosts will drop off. So we're, having nightmares about that because we feel like we deserve to host, but, we'll be ready to go either way. And again, we were supposed to have super regional sites. This year, because of, again, COVID, they have done away with having 8 hosts around the nation. The higher seed would host on their home courts, but that will be give way to Lake Nona, our national tennis center in Orlando, Florida, where the round of 16 will take place for the men on Monday, and then the quarterfinals, semis, and finals will go on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of that same week. So that's our prognosis for, and we're just holding tight, right? We don't know where we're going to go or if we're going to host and as we should. But we've got to prepare these kids for whatever comes, right? We don't control what we don't control, but we can certainly be prepared. And the next couple of weeks will serve huge for us to really hit conditioning and have them ready to go full throttle here.
Well, tell us the story about Coach McGill here, and then our fans like that.
Well, Coach McGill was the ultimate competitor. He was like my father, right? My second dad, and he's just been a tremendous mentor. But my senior year, I was undefeated as our number 1 player in the conference, and we have back then we played all the number 1s in one draw, all the number 2s together. We had flights, and I was undefeated, I went all the way to the semis, and in 2 weeks prior, I had injured my shoulder, and I hadn't practiced for 2 weeks leading up to the SEC tournament. And it was in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It was like 98 degrees, 98% humidity. And because I hadn't really trained like I should have, because of my injury, I went into a third set, and late in the second set, after winning the first, I started running out of gas, and I went into a full body cramp. I threw up on the court, and I tried to keep going. But the ambulance came, and I went in full body cramps. And I was right next to the tennis facility, the Alabama Medical Center was. And so we didn't have to go far. And honestly, they packed my body in a tray of ice. They had me in a tray of ice, and they had IVs going through me. And, a couple hours, my body temperature came down from 103.9 to whatever, got stabilized. And, I had this terrible headache, because of the internal body temperature being so high, and I felt horrible. But I started feeling a little bit better, and the doctor comes in to check on my vitals, and Coach McGill goes like, "Well, sir, we got to hurry this up because we got a doubles match in about 30 minutes." And the doctor looked at Coach McGill and said, "There's no way in hell that this boy can go on the court." Well, he says, "No, you don't understand. The championship is on the line. I need my guy on the tennis court. Even if he just stands in the corner, we feel like we can win this match." It was like quarterfinal match. And the doctor says, "Absolutely not. If you want to take him, you can, but you're going to need to sign right here, basically saying that the doctor, you're doing this against doctor's wishes." And I'll be dang, Coach McGill signed the note and said, "Come on." And I stood in the alley and we won that doubles match that day. I felt better the next day. And it eventually turned out that 2 days later, we kept advancing. And the last match of the tournament was the #1 doubles match after the singles, right? And that doubles match wound up assuring us of our 4th straight SEC championship my senior year.
Wow.
Well, that's the way to hang in there. That's a great story. But, today's society, Coach probably wouldn't make it very long.
I wouldn't be making that call. I know that.
Manny, I got a couple quick ones I want to get you out of here on. One, I asked Jeff Wallace, if I took you and Jeff and I put you on a court, one set of singles right now, who wins?
Probably Jeff. He's got about 10 years on me, or I got 10 years on him. He's fit and he runs a lot more than I do. I just had knee replacement surgery. But hey, if you just give me a half a court, I'll put money on me. But that's a big handicap.
He said himself too, but because of your knee injury and the knee surgery. So that's a consensus there. 2, if you took an average tennis player, just someone that may have picked up a racket before, has a little bit of skill, but not actual like playing tennis, how many tries until they just get a racket on a John Isner serve? I'm trying to understand, how fast is that John Isner serve?
0% chance of putting a racket on it. 0. Not even 1%.
I think a lot of times fans don't understand how incredible that power is from him.
Yeah. I mean, you can't blink. The ball's by you. And not only that, but because of his, size, the ball's almost above your head, unless you really anticipate it and really go get it early. Which makes it even harder because that means you got even less time, right?
My final question is just kind of nerdy strategy because, in tennis was such a serve and volley game and it kind of had its iterations up until about the mid 2000s. But it seems like the last 15 years, it's just been crack it from the baseline as hard as you can and as long as you can. Do you see I think about basketball, how the 3-point shot has changed how the game is played. Do you see any strategy or aspect of the mindset of tennis that can kind of change where the game is going in the next generation? Maybe from a pro level, maybe from college?
Well, I really, it's hard to tell. I mean, I think there has been a bunch of rumblings about the equipment, how these rackets, how you're able to hit the ball so hard, like back in my days, it was either wooden rackets or at first it was aluminum. Now it's composites, graphites, all kinds of technology, airplane technology has come into play. And, when you're on a complete stretch for the ball, you're able to generate so much speed. But the biggest change in our game in the last 20 years has just been the physicality, sheer physicality of our sport. These guys are, the average age of the top 100 players in the world, used to be 21, 22, 25 years ago. Now, the average age of the top 100 pros in the world is around 27 and a half years old. So, you're talking about, these are grown men at the top of their physical fitness, and the average professional tennis player spends just as much time in the gym with their personal fitness coaches as much as they do on the court. So that has revolutionized our sport. And yeah, who knows where this is going? I mean, we're starting to see, to be honest with you, the top players in the world are now almost, looking like basketball players. You're talking about not only John Isner, he may be at the top end, but, the top players, Tsitsipas, Medvedev, you're talking about 6'5", 6'6", and they move, like basketball guards, right? Which was, 20, 25 years ago, unheard of. So I believe, we're getting kids that are not kids, men, that are much bigger, much faster and agile, and their physicality, the sport is just so much more physical than it used to be.
Different game than what you played growing up, Coach.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was a wooden racket man too. So, but hey, Coach, just want to tell you how much it means to us for you to be the coach here. What you've done for tennis in general, but just the Athens community, you and your wife and your family, just a huge part of UGA. And I know the way you support all sports, but just wanted everybody to get a good look at you and know what you're all about. We appreciate you being with us.
Well, thank you, Coach. You know how much I admire you, and thank you for your support. You're a great friend.
All right.